Good morning, and it is now time for the world-famous Butch and Bob Show, brought to you by Mike Bridge Ford in Blackshear, by Jessup Premium Stores, located out here on the Waycross Highway, and by Murphy Builder Supply, located on Northeast Broad Street in downtown Jessup. Bob, very special guest in this morning here on the world-famous Butch and Bob Show.
Yeah, as we promised, Ed Jeffords agreed to come be on the show today, and Ed, appreciate you coming in, first of all.
Well, thank you, Bob. I appreciate the opportunity.
Ed, of course, is our county administrator here in Wayne County. And go ahead, just in case people don't know about Ed, we just got to clarify.
Yes, sir.
Right?
I got a lot of questions here, but I just want to start. Last time you were here, you've been on the job about 3 weeks, and you talked about the challenges the job faces. The biggest challenge, the financial shape of the county, which you clearly stated is not in a good place. But talking to you after that show, you told me that many people didn't really get the message. They hear what they want to hear sometimes. They miss the key message, so want to give you another chance. Let's begin with how bad is it? And since you've been in office, what really stands out as the key issues as to why the tax digest isn't growing in a positive direction. In fact, you mentioned in the statistics show that's been decreasing over the past several years. So let's begin with that. How bad is it?
It's significant. You know, it's pretty significant. Our digest is dropped off, and just comparison. You don't have the figures right in front of me, but we've lost about $100,000 per meal. At 13 meals, that's $1.3 million, right?
You lost it how?
Yeah.
How did we lose it?
Just depreciation and lack of investment coming into our community, and it depreciates faster than the investment comes in. So
okay, so depreciation of items here in Wayne County going down, not news coming in, anything to do with sales tax in any type of way?
Well, the sales tax is a different source of revenue.
So
the ad valorem tax, the property tax that we pay,
right?
That's the digest.
That's the digest.
Yeah,
and the value of that is going down.
The value of that is going down. Yes.
The new investments coming in, not as much new investments coming in to get to bring that digest back up.
Yes, and there's a lot of other various reasons. Exemptions, the laws change, people go into exemptions of there. So there's a lot of factors that go into that digest.
Okay.
Sales tax is down too. It's for various reasons. There's laws, but the economic activity is down. So I can't control what Atlanta does with the laws. Meaning the fuel tax that was up a few years ago, and that impacted a little bit. But if the economic activity, the engine is going, then you can overcome those laws and those changes in revenues. So the sales tax is down because mainly the economic activity is down.
Okay.
Tipping fees are down. I mean, there's a whole host of activities that are down here.
So the revenue's down.
That's right.
And that's one of the problems, right? One of the big problems right there is.
It is.
Yep. Okay.
And expenses are up.
Since taking off, you discussed the hiring freeze. You met with department heads asking them to look for ways to cut budget. You mentioned most, if not all, helping in that area. You made some personnel moves. In talking with the commissioners, you basically told them to allow you to give you time to fix the problem that you believe you have a plan in place. So first of all, what's the plan? Second of all, is it working? And third, how soon do you foresee the light at the end of the tunnel in this situation?
Ooh. But that's a loaded question, Bob. The light at the end of the tunnel. I'm optimistic about our future. I really am. And I told the commissioners when they hired me, I'm optimistic about Wayne County. I'm bullish. We have some financial headwinds here, and I don't know if it's going to take to truly get out and be where we really want to be. It's going to take a few years to get out of it. To get out of the immediate concern, we're going to get out of it pretty quick here. So everybody in the county, employees, have been extremely helpful. They have, supported me. My my plan is to focus on the processes and efficiency and expectations, and lean a lot on the employees and officers of this county to help think about ways that we can save money and provide the services that our citizens demand and require. So We can cut ourselves into, out of a budget crisis, but we can't cut ourselves into prosperity. We have to save. We have to provide the services. We have to provide road maintenance. Over 600 miles of roads, of dirt roads. 600 some square miles of territory in this county. We have to have a criminal justice system, safety. We have to have ambulance, safety, services, fire, recreation, maintenance. There's a whole host of things, and the criminal justice system has to be sound. And it's important to our community and the quality of life of our citizens.
You get the support of the commissioners. What's your plan?
I believe I have total support. When they hired me, I told them I was going to be accountable to them. I'm answer to 5 commissioners, and that's my approach to this thing. Whatever they want to do and their vision, the citizens of this county elected them, and they hired me to execute their vision, their plan. And I'm focused on that. Yes.
If you just join us in the studio with this County Minister Ed Jeffords again, I want to get specific. The main reason I asked you to come in is to discuss what's been called a mistake on a timberland company known as Plum Creek, but now Weyerhaeuser County owed them in the amount of $562,042, schools portion $340,846, $77,135 of that is just interest since 2014. Superintendent says he met with you and your comment was, this is unacceptable and it will be fixed. So was that your comment when you met with Jay Brinson, who has not held back in his expression of his frustration? Are you as frustrated as he is? Is it unacceptable? And why is it explained as a miscommunication between departments? Why can't it be stated who's responsible for a bill sitting for 4 years collecting $77,000 in interest? Doesn't seem like a lack of communication to me. Seems like, hate to say it, but incompetence. So I ask you, is it really a lack of communication?
First of all, everybody's a little frustrated. It's a large part of my budget. I promise you, I don't have cash and reserves to go. It's an impact to me. Secondly, my focus is I told Jay that I'm committed to him. They depend on us for that service, and I'm committed to him and communication with him. And the day I started the job over there, Jay was one of the first people I called, and I said, listen, I want a regular communication path with you, and we have done that. He came to visit me the first time, and I've been to visit him. We talk on the phone, not every week, but, when we need each other, we call. The accountability part of it, I'm about accountability. Bob, I don't know what I can fix or what was going on in the past. But moving forward, and this is my commitment to Jay and everybody else and my commissioners, is that we are going to focus on the processes. And that means, the process means getting out the assessments on time, getting the digest out on time, and up to the Department of Revenue, making sure that the policies and procedures are in place and we adhere to them. And to that point of there, we're going to hold ourselves, me included, accountable. And I will tell you there, if somebody's accountable, it's me. The commissioners have hired me. Everybody has responsibilities in this organization, but I'm accountable for them. I'm accountable to the commissioners for that, and I promise you that I'm going to have an attention on it, and I already had it. I meet with the tax officials every month. It's my meeting. It's outside the Board of Assessors. But we're going to focus on that. I've had complete support from everybody, all parties involved, and we're going to. Mistakes were made, Bob. I don't think anybody denies that. Timeliness, communication. There was a lot of opportunity, but the process is in place. So we just need to make sure that process is adhered to in the future.
Everybody seems like they're blindsided, though. Were you as blindsided as everybody else?
Yes. I mean, listen, in retrospect, you got to sit there and think about, one company got relief from the court system, and the other company's going to sit back and say, "Listen, I want the same relief over there." So you got to think of, you say, in retrospect. But no, I was blindsided.
We keep hearing that there are more bombs to drop, more surprises. We keep hearing about this issue of Altamont Bluff. What is that, and where is the county regarding that piece of property and possible payment to those owners of that property? And as it's been stated, have they been overassessed as well?
I don't know all the properties involved, but it's up in the upper part of the county along the Omaha River, and it's a class action type lawsuit. I am expecting to get a summary brief from the lawyers involved in that to talk to you more clearly on it. But it's a lawsuit that was a part of a similar lawsuit in Glenn County, and it's ongoing right now.
Are we still using the attorney that we hired before, Dixon, I think his name?
Todd Carter.
Carter.
Yeah.
So is our local attorney involved in that?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes. Not heavily. Todd Carter's handled most of the aspects of that case, but and he's supposed to give us a brief.
I also heard. Yeah, I'm curious. What's the last time that land and property's been appraised in Wayne County? I heard it's been quite some time. What's the normal time frame for that to take place? Are you addressing that issue as well as maybe a possible source of revenue?
Ooh. The last time it was done was when I was a commissioner in 2008.
Is that normal? I mean, I'm asking. I really don't know.
The rule is, as I understand it, Bob, is about every 5 years you need to assess the properties, all the properties in the county, and that's an ongoing process. And we've asked that question. The Board of Assessors have asked that question of the chief appraiser, and I think that we got our hands on it. But there's one measure that I haven't seen the fourth quarter's results, but I saw the third quarter's right when I took office. Right after was you assess it. The state comes in and audits the system every quarter, and the sales ratio is targeted at 40%. The assessed value of a piece of property and a piece of property that got sold, what's the value? Are they equal? And it was dead on, the 40%. So, that's one, sit there and say, listen, we're pretty confident that most of the properties are adequately assessed. There's opportunities, there certainly are, and we're looking at them. And I say looking at them, I'm not looking at them. I just want to make sure the process is done. And is done correctly and timely, and it's communicated if there's any major issues. That's the job of the chief appraiser, the Board of Assessors, and I just want to make sure that it's done properly. I'm not an expert at appraising value, and credentials need to be there to do that.
The reason I asked that question, when you look at this whole process over the years, Rainier is overassessed, Plum Creek's overassessed. If you're overassessing all these big companies, common sense tells me you got to be underassessing other people's property to kind of make it balance a little bit. I don't know who's getting the big tax break, but I mean, to me that's just common sense. If you're overassessing large companies, you got to be underassessing somebody else.
I don't know whether we overassess it. A digest is a digest, and it is what it is. So the value of your property is what it is. So the large corporations have staff people over there to look at that. They depreciate the value of your property. It depreciates to some degree, and some properties increase. And there's a lot of when you from a land standpoint, there's a lot of exemptions out there, and conservation, and I don't know whether it's somebody's overvalued versus somebody's undervalued. I think it's just a process that we just need new investment coming in, and we need to continue to do that. And if you don't grow, you're going to shrink. So that's how that works.
It is how it works. You don't just long steady. You're either growing or you're shrinking. And the revenue for Wayne County, from what you've been saying, has been shrinking over the past several years for many reasons. And we just need to turn that boat around and get the digest going up in terms of increasing economy here in Wayne County.
That's right. And
increase the economy.
I don't know. everybody's tax values are personal and relative. My house is appraised at a certain amount, and the bank wants to let me borrow money against that, a certain amount. So, yeah, the assessments and appraisals are fluctuate. They're subjective to the individual doing them.
And you talked about land. We got several text messages that have come in. I've just kind of been waiting for you to through there. Someone wants to know that does land depreciate?
No, I don't think the land depreciates over there, but the value of it may. If the economy is if the economy is booming, land appreciates. If the economy is not booming over there, it may depreciate. Yes,
is according on I know from the real estate how they let's just say how they evaluate a house. They go in there and say, all right, here's your house, you want to sell it, okay? And they'll come in and they'll do an appraisal based on what other homes
that's right.
in your area have sold for, and that's how the value is set. And some years it's going to be up, and some years it's going to be down based on what all these other homes or property in that area sold for.
Listen, let's back up here. I don't have the credentials to go out there and tell you how much property is worth and all that. I can sit there and tell you that the fundamentals are that we have to grow. And if you grow, the value of the property is going to go up. If you don't, it's going to go down.
That's just like somebody just texted in, subject to sales, not a personal opinion. So
that's right.
It's based on sales and what it's sold for in the last several years in that area.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
One thing I want to talk about, people forget this, but you know this probably better than anybody. How bad has the school tax exemption for senior citizens hurt the tax income? I've heard an average of $3 million a year, and studying the state, Wayne County is like the only county in the state of Georgia that has this tax exemption, and that's something that they're not going to put that genie back in the bottle. But how much has that hurt over the last several years?
I don't really. There's two digests. There's county digest. There's a school board digest, and there's a city's digest. And I don't really know the numbers associated with school, and I'm sure it's hurt them a pretty good bit.
They've talked about it before. We've had school superintendents talk about it before, where if you get over a certain age, your tax for your school taxes are exempt, not for the county, but just for the school. And it's on up there around, I know at one time around $700,000, but I don't know what it is now.
When I was a commissioner, I thought it was like 500.
Yeah.
But I'm not an expert at that.
I don't know what the exact figures are. But you're right. Somewhere between the 500,000 and 700,000 is what the school system is losing out on by seniors being exempted from school tax.
That's right. And listen, I'm not.
But that'll never change in this county.
Well, I don't ever say never, but it's a hard thing to put that genie back in the bottle,
right,
if you will. And so I'm the only one in control of my destiny. And so I got to overcome that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't control what goes on all the time in Atlanta. I can't control what goes on in Washington, but I can control what goes on in Wayne County and myself over there. So I know that I need to grow, and that's my focus on it. When the commissioners hired me, and I think I interviewed with you last time, I told them I was going to be accountable to them, and we need to grow. And so how do we do that? It's complicated. Atlanta's growing on itself. It's a black hole. I mean, they just growing because people want to go to Atlanta. And in Savannah, you go there and look, and it's the same way. And you look at other metropolitan areas, Augusta, Macon, they're growing on themselves. Rural Georgia needs help. And, it's hard to there's no magical bullet out there. So,
we had that talked about at a chamber function a while back. We had that, 2030. The guy talked about, what's going to be going on in rural Georgia and the rest of Georgia by 2030. And rural counties have really got to work hard to be able to keep themselves growing.
That's right. And the assessments and all that, there are people that have credentials to do that. And our focus is on making sure that we do what we say we're going to do. And I'm here to be that conduit or that making sure that that's done. The Board of Assessors have all been supportive and we're going to focus on the process.
Well, Bob had good news this morning on the local newscast.
I mentioned that we did get to good news, and for years we heard about how 341 is going to expand, but this Georgia Public Service Commission doing this gas line, 12,900-foot natural gas line. I know one project that they've been working on will definitely come with this being approved. How much will this help Wayne County? You talk about growth, and this is some good news.
Tremendous. And the excise tax that we repealed, that we will phase out over 3 years, we passed, it is part of that. So companies want to come, not coming if we're going to tax them and punish them for coming. So there's 159 counties in this state, and we need to be competitive. And having the gas line is a huge advantage for us. I certainly Dale would, kudos to Dale and others that played a big part in this. And, I think it's going to be big for us, actually, very big for us. It's sitting right there. It is a huge gas line, and gas is a cornerstone of industry.
Looking at the press release, like I said, it's just nice to have everybody on board. Like they mentioned, all the state representatives, Congressman Buddy Carter, Johnny Isaacson, Lindsey Thomas also made some contacts on the land, so everybody was on board. Like I said, it's a big project, so it's good to have everybody working together.
That's right. And listen, it starts with Dale and the Industrial Development Authority, but all our state and national representatives have been a part of that. And I would say kudos to Lindsey Thomas, too. He's really been behind the scenes and helping out and been a steward to this community and continues to provide leadership here. So, amen.
How much is the county budget at this point?
It's $23.2 million.
Right, and like I said, the first item, we talk about the tax anticipation note. It's now up to $6.5 million, and I've made the comment to you several times, you can't borrow your way out of debt. So explain that move and why that was necessary to increase that tax anticipation note from $4.5 to $6.5 million.
Well, it's simply, Bob, I don't have any money in the bank account to get to the next year's taxes. I'm not, that's the tax anticipation note is a front of money to get you to the next year's tax. It's cash flow. I don't have any money in the bank account to go get me to next year until we start focusing on improving efficiencies, and that's going good. I'm very pleased with the response and the support I've gotten through all the departments, but it's going to take time and a lot of it. So we have to increase it. We borrow a little bit at a time. I borrowed like $500,000 of that so far. So maybe I don't borrow that much, So we're going to cash flow to manage this process. I tell everybody and that we all got here together, and we all gonna get out of it together. And I can't do it any other way. And I've had some people come to see me at different groups. Listen, we can't do our job adequately or whatever, And I said, listen, we're going to figure it out together. I'll help you out. I'll help you out any way I can help you out, but I don't have money. And this tax anticipation note is strictly to get me to next year's tax revenue.
Is there anything in reserve? Because that's the meeting that I kind of got knocked over with.
I don't have anything in reserve.
Well, you've been a county commissioner. When you were the county commissioner back then, was there any money in reserve? Was for a rainy day? I mean,
I don't know.
So I said that was just a number put out there. I mean, who does that?
When I became a commissioner, Bob, it was right after we settled the lawsuit with the mill on the value of their property. And the previous board had to go up, I think 6 mills. It went up significantly. And at the same time, we went through reappraisal a year or so later. And so that process, we didn't have any money. We borrowed $6 million at that point in time from a tax. We went to the tax anticipation note at that time. I don't know how much money was in cash reserves and fund balance, but I don't have any. And they lowered it to $4.5 million. Listen, I don't know what all the decisions were back then. I just know right now that to get me to make sure that I can keep the lights on, the courthouse open up there, the roads serviceable, and the ambulance and emergency response teams out there, then I need to borrow $6.7 million.
Are we working towards that goal, though, to that money? Because, like I said, when these hurricanes come up that you're not expecting, I mean, you're going to have some kind of money.
Yeah, so that was the purpose of the borrowing the money. We're going to get there. We're going to focus on improving our financial condition. That is, it takes up the majority of my time, Bob. And that's my focus, and that's my commitment to all 5 of those commissioners. And they gave me full support, and all the county employees. I'm very, blessed to have a group of employees and individuals that have really stepped up, and they're starting to step up to the table and find ways to improve our efficiency and provide the services that, again, our county citizens deserve and demand. So, I looked at the rec department last night or this week, and listen, there's 700 kids came out for baseball. That's great, So there's a tremendous amount of activity going on with the county, and positive activity going on with the county, and we got some financial wins ahead of us, but we're gonna get out of it. And I'm focused on the bank account, and I focus on the bank account, get that build up over there, that TANs will go down. But I'm not focused on the TANs. I'm focused on the bank account. So if I got reserves, I don't have to borrow so much money. So that's about as simple as I can get it.
We got lots of text messages here, and I'm going to have a chance to take all
Lord.
Some of you might not want me to read here.
I'm sure.
It says the budget, you said, is $23.5 million that is projected revenues.
3.2.
Yeah, what are the expenses? I mean, if you got revenues of 23.2, what is projected expenses?
I do not.
What were the expenses this past year?
The revenues and the expenses have to balance out.
Yeah, we all know that.
So the expected revenues and expected expenses is $23.2 million.
That's expected. So you got to balance it out.
That's right. I got to zero it out by law, by requirement. That's what it is. It has to balance out.
But is some of that going to have to be done through borrowing money until more revenues come in?
No, the revenues, the new sources over there are just, I can't borrow myself, and I can't borrow long-term debt. That TANs is less than a year, and I can't borrow out of that.
Okay, so you're going to do what you need to do as county administrator.
That's right.
At Jefferson, is try to balance out what we bring in versus the expenses and do that in any way possible.
That's right.
But we've had a very difficult time apparently here in Wayne County doing that over the past several years with having to borrow money. Is that right? I'm just going by questions that people have sent in here.
Well, I'm kind of. We can't borrow money long term. Unless we go to the bonds and like for the hospital or those kind of things. But on a day-to-day basis, on an operation basis over there, we can't borrow ourselves. The TANs is a tax anticipation note, and that is
right.
for less than a year.
So basically what the TANs is, like I said, we've got to borrow the money now, but it's going to come in a little later.
The revenues, the expenses have to be matched with revenue sources coming in from various sources, whether it's taxes, whether it's grants, whether it's insurance premiums, services, fees, such. But the revenues have to match the expenses.
Okay. Do you have a breakdown? Do you know exactly, just in maybe a ballpark figure? You've got revenues coming in from different sources for the county, from equipment to land to sales tax and all that. Do you know what percentage of if you've got that budget of $23 million, what percentage comes from what areas where you get your the income from for Wayne County?
I don't have the figures right in front of me, but I would sit there and say this, that probably 45% comes from ad valorem tax, property taxes.
Okay.
About 10%, 12% comes from sales tax. 5% comes from insurance premium taxes. Grants, depends on the grants. We get funding from, and we have to match a little bit, but for the most part, this ad valorem sales tax, makes up about 55-60% of a budget.
Okay, a lot of people might not understand property taxes, especially if they don't own a business. We're not talking about just the buildings or the land or the home. We're also talking about the equipment inside businesses.
There's real property and there's personal property.
Yeah, there's the property that businesses have, their equipment, anything that may be inside of a business is considered property taxed, and if it's the older it gets, the less value it is.
That's right.
So it depreciates, so there's less taxes coming in. And as you mentioned, we need new growth here in Wayne County, new equipment, new machinery and other equipment coming in because the taxes on that would be higher, being the fact that it's brand new.
We need growth for a lot of reasons. We need growth for our children and our businesses to survive and prosper. We need growth for our property taxes. We need growth for quality of life, It all feeds off each other. So we don't need to grow, we need to grow at a pace that is, it provides the jobs and opportunities for us to have the quality of life we all expect and demand.
And how do you think that we're going to see this growth here in Wayne County? What would you, as Ed Jeffers, let's just say citizen of Wayne County instead of county administrators would say, well, what would you see as the growth for Wayne County? How can we do that? How can we reverse this trend of decreased revenue because of not growing like we should, when really we thought we would be growing because of being close to the Port of Brunswick and the Port of Savannah and having 4 lanes on Highway 341 and 84. The slogan years ago that came up, where it all comes together right here. Why aren't we growing like we thought we should be?
Well, there's a lot of factors associated with that. New businesses want to go to the hubs over there because to attract employees and all. So it's a complicated process, and Dale and others probably better suited to give you a better answer of where the growth is coming from. But what I told the commissioners is the first thing you got to do is say, listen, I want you. And to the local business, the current business over there, say, listen, I appreciate you being here. As long as you're abiding by the laws and regulations of this land over here, I want you to survive and I want you to succeed. And that's the first thing I need to tell you over there is I want you. And that's put the shingle out and say, yes, we're up for business.
Well, one good thing about Wayne County is that the hub of Wayne County is Jessup. If you look through the downtown Jessup area, it's a vibrant downtown area where it's a lot of small towns in rural Georgia. It's ghost towns.
Kudos for downtown and just city of Jessup. It is it's a great place. It's a beautiful downtown. The Strand Theater, the Williams family that reinvested in the Whaley Center. That's fantastic, and it is vibrant. You go downtown now, and you can't hardly find a parking spot over there. The Strand Theater is doing great, and it's a wonderful venue if you haven't experienced it. So. Downtown is a vibrant place, and we need to grow over there. And it is an economic engine, as to some degree, Odom and Scriven. I'm bullish on Wayne County and its entities. We have a great community, and again, I love it. I would tell you that all 5 of my commissioners love it, and they want to do the right thing. And to me, that's big in my book.
Okay, so what you started off to begin with, we need economic growth here in Wayne County to turn this digest around where right now we've got less income coming in for Wayne County because of not having the growth we should, right? We need more economic growth in Wayne County to change around so we don't have to increase the mills to get more money in, right?
We need to control our cost. We need to be accountable for that, and then we need to grow. And those are 2 aspects of my plan or my focus on this thing is it need to control the cost, need to be effective and efficient, provide the services that our citizens demand and require, and then we need to grow. Just bottom line.
Okay, and I think everybody would agree with that.
Yep.
Yeah, Ed, we do appreciate you coming in this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You got a tough situation that you've come into. You inherited a lot of situations that's going to take, as you said, a few years to get turned around and get moving. I know that your door is always open for folks to come in and talk to you about that. You are accountable to the 5 commissioners, and you're trying to implement their vision for Wayne County along with yours. And hopefully in the next couple of years, you'll have you in here many times before then, but hopefully in the next, let's say 2 to 3 years from now, we're sitting talking about how the growth is going and no having to borrow money or go up in mills on our tax, on the property and things of that sort.
Well, thank you, Butch. Listen, this is a difficult time. I won't deny that, but I'm enjoying it. My mother told me, I told other people that around there, my mother told me, says, you knew what you were getting into, so I don't really want to hear you complaining over there. So, Mama, I'm not complaining. I'm enjoying it. And
you've got a difficult job, and we all wish you the very best of it. We've all got your back, and we wish you the best as our county administrator here in Wayne County.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Okay, all right. Anything else, Bob?
I just want to say thanks for coming in.
Okay, all right. All right, the world-famous Butch and Bob Show brought to you by Mike Birch.